welcome Sajnikanth Suryanarayanan for this podcast. This is a kind of a podcast which I really wanted to do. One of my mentor told that your podcast is filled with tech content, which was you need some inspirational podcast. So I just wanted to do an inspirational podcast of a warrior who went from India to the Netherlands. Trust me, he's working in a field where his bachelor's degree is nowhere related. He's working in a tech field, even though he did his bachelor's in civil engineering. And the amount of cultural shock, the way his he paved his way as an engineer, I think this is going to be something which is more inspirational and also more motivating for the people who think that even though I'm in a field of study where tech is not involved, how can I involve myself in the world of tech? So I welcome Sajnikanth Suriyanarayanan for this podcast where I'm trying to demystify how to build yourself as an engineer. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Vishwas. I'm very humbled by this introduction, and I really hope I live up to your expectations. Yeah. So it feels like you put me on a pedestal, and I don't want to shatter your expectations. So let's
No
see how this
problem.
goes.
Yes, sir. So, basically, when I read your personal website, the portfolio website which you had given, I want to understand more of what was Sajnikanth Suryanarayanan when he was studying his undergraduate.
Okay. So I will say that I was a typical student in a typical engineering college in Madras, and I was not the brightest student. I'm sure my friends who will watch this video are able to testify. I will also say that I was good enough just to make sure I don't have any arrears, and at least I graduated within 4 years. So that's the good bit. The thing after graduation is like everyone else, we were looking for things to do. And fortunately or unfortunately, I came from a school which had computer science right from the beginning. I think one of our first exposure to computers was when we were learning Logo. And I'm talking about 1988 or something like that, really long time ago. And I was fortunate enough to be exposed to computers from a very early age. And so the default option for every graduate in Madras at least was, okay, let me try looking for a job in my field. If not, the backup is always find something in IT, regardless of what it could be. And I went ahead with this thing. Fortunately or unfortunately, my first job was neither. I got into a call center and I was a customer support representative and yada yada. And then I went to do something else before I decided, okay, maybe I need to do a master's. And that is where my little experience in computer science and programming helped me, where we had a lot of courses about the basics of. So I did my master's in coastal geosciences. And what this means, this involves a lot of simulations and writing some basic scripts at the very least. And this is where it helped me. So after my master's was my first real job in IT, where I joined as a quality assurance engineer. And this is where I can say I really started working in IT. I had a few jobs here and there, which are technically IT jobs, but the real career is only after masters.
Yeah, even in your Pi Data talk, you said this. I'm nowhere related to your complete IT field, but I just got an exposure for it. But like, as a professional, how have you evolved over the course of time?
Okay, the way I see my career is I would probably put it in three sections. The first section where I was a complete noob, and although I had some basic education and programming at school, at high school we learned Pascal. I'm not even sure if you remember Pascal, and
I don't
of
remember.
course, and in college we learned Fortran among all the languages. Anyway, so my first part of the career, I would say it was very this education, and then my job in quality assurance, which where I started as a manual tester. And this is where I was involved in literally clicking buttons, be it on a mobile phone, be it on a screen, but literally clicking buttons. And the amount of automation that I had during this time was only record and click, where the tool would be able to generate the script for me. And if I'm good enough, if I'm one of the better quality assurance engineers, then I would be able to tweak this tool to get it to do what I really wanted. This was the extent of the first part of my career journey. A big change happened when I joined this company called MiG-33 in Singapore, where I got to meet some of the colleagues who really helped redefine my career, especially one of the guys called Ali. I think I mentioned his name even in the talk at PyCon. So this guy was instrumental in helping me start with automation. And he was like, hey, so if you're doing this for the second time, why are we not automating this at this point? And he introduced me to writing leaner scripts using Python. I think one of the first wow or aha moments for me was to get the browser launched by using one or two lines of Python code and going to a website, for example. So the beginning of the second part of my career happened here, where I started being very involved in automation testing. And this involved writing a lot of UI tests using Selenium. And then it went on to writing a lot of backend API tests. So without the UI, how am I able to write integration tests and so on? And then, of course, you had mobile and so on. So heavily automation is how I would define the second part of my career. I can also include some non-functional testing in this, where we regularly now do performance testing. And again, this is all completely automated. And we are thinking of putting this in a CI/CD pipeline. Now, I believe I have entered the third phase of my career, where within our company, our very own company, we are trying to redefine quality engineering. What we are saying is, hey, quality engineering is not just for a person who is hired as a QA or a QE. Quality is everyone's responsibility. I might be the champion of quality in my team, but it is everyone's responsibility. Therefore, with these expectations, I would expect everyone in my team to be involved in automated tests as much as I am. So if something is broken, if the CI/CD pipeline itself is broken, what I would not expect is, hey, Sajnikanth, can you please have a look at this? No. Why don't I have a look at this? Hey, Sajnikanth, can you help? Let's pair program on this and let's get this green as quickly as possible. At the same time, while I have this expectation from my team, it's only fair my team would have an expectation where, hey, Sajnikanth, if I'm going to be writing test code, it's only fair you're going to be writing application code. So this is where we say in our company, we are all expected to T-shape. We have our core skills and we are expected to improve our other skills. So the third part of my career is, I think, just beginning, where we are all seeing maybe everyone needs to T-shape. The developers within my team are T-shaping to be quality engineers, and we quality engineers are T-shaping to be developers or security engineers or anything that we want to be, which gets our team ahead. So this is how I would see my career progress.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating thing, because studying something which is nowhere related to tech and now doing a master's and now evolving as a professional, that's the actual thrill of building ourselves. What we say, career, 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 this is what career means. You have to mingle with people, you have to keep up with the pace at which the technology is evolving. But like, I am pretty damn sure that you had a cultural shock when you entered Netherlands, that's for sure. In terms of professional life, did you face any cultural shock? Because I know you worked in a BPO, a call center, and now coming back to an industry and now doing masters and getting back to the industry. Like, did you have any cultural shocks that you faced? Yes, there is a lot of difference between India and Netherlands.
I'll say that Netherlands is probably the last country that I will live or am currently living in. I have lived in 5 countries so far. When I left India, I left for Germany. And I was there for 3 years. And all along, when I was preparing to go to Germany, the information that people kept giving me about Germany was completely different from the reality. So I don't want to repeat the things that I heard, but the experience I had in Germany was so much better than what I thought I would expect. I would say it was probably the one of the best parts of my life, where it really helped open my eyes and see the world. To me, India is Madras. I haven't never lived in another part of India except Madras. So coming from this well, if I may, to seeing a completely new culture, new kind of people, and new food, and the way of talking and working and interacting. This opened my eyes to, okay, so this is what the world is like, or maybe this is what something which is not Madras is like. And I would say I was shocked, but in a very positive way. So Germany, and after that, I moved to China. And then again, we have our perceptions of what China is and what I was told that it is a developing country and it is going to be very similar to India. So I went to China with this perception. And then it completely blew my mind again. My point is, my expectations, which I had set by myself, and the people who told me that it would be like this, were completely different from the actual reality. Again, I had a lovely time in China. I would probably say it's a fantastic experience. I was there for 3 years. And from China, I moved to Singapore. And I'm sure coming from Madras, we have many people who've been to Singapore, and many people know more about Singapore than any other place if in India, probably. So Singapore as well, I can't say I had a culture shock. I know I'm not really giving you the answer that you expect. Probably the
Yeah, you
shocking
are.
for
Yeah,
me was every place was a fantastic experience. So from Singapore, I moved to the Netherlands. If I can tell you about one culture shock in the Netherlands, it would probably be the food. And I mean, we are used to having great food in India. India is famous for fantastic food. And I think my first day in the Netherlands working was on a Friday. And for lunch, we all got a tiny piece of bread with a boiled egg. This would not pass for lunch in India, but this was lunch in the Netherlands. So, say, otherwise, yeah, I have not had too many shocks.
yeah, because as you have seen how the technology has grown, you have also worked in different frameworks. Like, you have also seen how the software planning, the life cycle is also changing, because it's like, even if you are a deep learning engineer, you can just go and build a model now, but there are chances that, okay, you might find a flaw here, then you're supposed to go there. I just want to ask you this one question: how has the software engineering and the frameworks over the course of time in evolved, as you have seen? Like, how have these things evolved in the industry?
I can give you a very simple example. At least I'm not going to jump into the frameworks because I'll probably focus on the process. And I'm sure you know the software development lifecycle, and I'm sure you know about agile and a sprint board and things like that. So the sprint board 10 years ago, if I remember correctly, it had 4 or 5 or 6 columns. If I can start, it had a to do and in progress and code review and testing, and then it is marked as done. Today, within our 3 columns, the principle, no, the 3 columns are to do, in progress, and done. We have removed all the things like code review and testing, da, da, da. The principle behind doing these things is we want to break the silos. For example, within my team, I might be a quality engineer. Another person might be a developer. Another person might be the UX person. As long as we work as a team, we really don't care who is doing what. So having a status like, hey, Sajnikanth is looking at this, or person Y is reviewing the score, or person X is designing, it doesn't make sense anymore. Because when I say you have to test, it means that I have to help out this person when he or she needs some help in, I don't know, designing something or code reviewing something. So with that, we say if it is being worked on, regardless of who is working on it, this means it is in progress. This also forces the entire team to look at the items that are in progress and jump in. Hey, I've seen this ticket in progress for the last 2 days. Sajnikanth, are you stuck? Do you need help? What can I do to get this to done? So the process, how it used to be 10 years, even 10 years ago, which was very fragmented, is now being unified. And where we feel as a team, we are getting ahead by working on something together. So I would say this was the biggest evolution for me in these many years.
Yeah, but like you have seen different countries. You have lived in 5 countries so far, because it's like you've spent most of your life in different countries. I can say that because probably your most of the life was in Madras, as you have said, but also your professional journey was split in different countries: India, Netherlands, China, Singapore, Germany, and as you have listed. So I just want to ask you this question: like, how were how was the developer community different from each and every places that you had visited? Like, when we talk of Singapore, Singapore was once upon a time was never thought to be a grown country because it was the biggest slum. But like now it's a country which is much evolved, and more of my favorite Grand Prix happens there. I can't really lose that thing because it's in one of my bucket list. Like, how have you seen the developers community evolve over a course of time in different countries, or else what's your experience in those developer community that you have worked in?
If I'm, again, this is a personal opinion, and I would love for someone to correct me when I'm wrong. From my experience, I would rate Singapore as very enthusiastic, having a very enthusiastic dev and tech community among the countries I've lived in. I have never worked uh, as a software engineer or in IT when I was in Germany. I was doing other things in bits and pieces, but never in IT. So I can't say much about that. And I would probably say the next country would be China. And I'm not saying Netherlands is not active, does not have an active tech scene, but I have not seen it being as active as probably Singapore and China. Singapore, the advantage is it's all in English. And therefore, I was very involved in many of these meetups and community events, even PyCon, for example. Yeah, and there are so many meetup groups and event tech related events happening every other day within Singapore. And Singapore is small. And if something happens somewhere, everyone in this community would get to know. And yeah, there are free pizzas, of course, that helps. But still, the community itself is very enthusiastic in organizing it. Hey, what is the next best thing in web development? What is the next best thing? AWS conferences. These things happen very frequently in Singapore, and so many other PyCon, and Selenium conferences, and all these things happen in Singapore. And China again has a very an amazing tech community. The only disadvantage for me was, although most of the presentations were in English, if it had an expat, there are a lot of Chinese communities as well. And it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to participate in everything. And Singapore gave me that advantage because it was in English. And today in the Netherlands, I would say it's a great scene here, especially in Amsterdam and Rotterdam. The tech community is bubbling. And even my company, we have our own meetup group where we literally had a webinar yesterday. So, and the amount of people responding to such events and the requests for being a speaker at these events is getting higher and higher by every event. So I want to say that it is growing, and I wish it is as hot as how things are in Singapore today. Again, this is my opinion. If someone feels that, or if someone says, Sajnikanth, you've got this completely wrong, I would love to correct myself.
No, you're absolutely right, because I've seen people in Singapore, from Singapore. They're amazingly, their energy levels are so high that if they don't know, they're ready to learn from you. That's how things are in Singapore. I love Singapore people. I worked with two clients, and they were amazing. They were amazing, actually. Yeah, let's just talk about the interview process and all the things which we are supposed to be taking care about when we are getting in as a professional. How was your first interview process? I know it was not such a great one, because you were not from a technical background, but how was it? How was your experience of attending your first, worst, and the best interview that you have ever given?
Oh boy. I'm going to make things easier for myself. My first interview was for the first job that I got. I told you about this call center. I think it was I got the job, therefore, I think the interview went really well for me. And the best thing about that interview was I consciously went into a mode where I'm going to set myself apart from the other people. So the interview was set up in a way that there were 40 people or something being put in the same room, and there was a group discussion or something like that. And I was thinking to myself as to what I could do which would make me stand apart from these 40 people. And we were all given the topic of whether, it's ironic if I talk about this today, whether computers are going to be helping us or making our lives worse. Again, this was in 2001, so bear with me. And I was a fresh graduate, and so were many more people who were attending this group discussion slash interview with me. And of course, when you give a topic like this, yeah, who's going to say computers are disastrous to our development? And with this thought I had in my mind, I ended up being the guy against 39 people who was like, no, computers are going to be disastrous. There's no way it's going to be working. And it was a heated debate. And I had 39 people ganging up against me. But my point was, at least it made me stand out. And at least people were able to see that I was able to hold on to some position. I was able to defend my position in some way, which gave the interviewer the feeling that, okay, maybe this guy Sajnikanth is able to communicate. Maybe he is able to talk back to people. And just because I got the job, I assumed that he was impressed with this. And so this was probably my first, and I would say, yeah, one of the best interviews. A disastrous interview was, it was in Singapore, where it was for a tech company, and I went there with, so this was a role for a quality engineer. And I had done my homework. I had looked up this company's website. I also came up with some mock test scripts for the UI, for the API, and da, da, da. When I went there, first, this person was late. And second, he was not really interested in knowing about me. He was interested in finding a person to fill a role as soon as possible because the other person was leaving. And he was more keen on when I was going to join and my salary than what I would really like to be. I don't think he even cared to know what my aspirations were. And I think it's obvious that he didn't really care to look at the scripts that I had come prepared with. And the bad part was I got the job offer. The good part was I didn't take this job because it felt like a complete cultural misfit. And I knew I would not be happy in this team. So yeah, I would say this is probably the worst interview.
Yeah, no, true, sir, true. Because because of the peer pressure, because of the people who are just saying me, just get a job now, afterwards you can try jumping on to some other company. All of these come in, and we actually forget that we need to work on our passions, we need to work on our own ethics, because we are supposed to build ourselves as a new package of energy, a new package of what we are today. That's where professional companies come in. I always say this in my webinars. Once a company goes public, it's not a company, it's an institution which just gives out good professionals out. We forget that it's an institution that we are getting in. It's not a company that, okay, we are supposed to work to an extent where we are supposed to give out money. Of course, giving out money is an extent, but like building ourselves as a professional is the main goal for me. Any company that I join, yes, this is going to be my first bulleting point. So I know that your journey is so fascinating, because most of the people can relate to you, because many people who have seen many people who are from commerce background but now working as a data scientist, from many people who were civil engineers. I think probably 1990 pass out people, 1990 pass out people, the, Bangalore had a very, very, very worst time during that time. People who were supposed to pass during the 1989 were passed out in 1990, because 1 year they didn't have an exam at all. So their parallel batches came in, and I've talked with a lot of engineers in such a way that I know what has happened throughout the industry. I can relate somehow that how IAS, FAS, past evolved over the course of time, because that's many times I've talked about it. I think probably it's going to be a very motivational thing for anybody who's listening to this. But like, I want to ask one thing for sure. Last question: what's that keynote when you're joining in as a professional, and what's that one keynote that you should be having when you're attending your first interview, or if you want to have your best interview experience, what is that keynote that you really give to the world?
Oh, I would say, I mean, I'm not going to tell you anything you already don't know, Vishwas. Okay, I will start by saying that. So I'm sure when you go into an interview, you need to be prepared. You need to know what the company or the job is about. And as much as you are talking, you should also be asking questions about the company. Things like, hey, tell me, give me an example of a person who is exceeding expectations at your company, and give me an example of someone who's been in this company for X number of years and why they still want to work for this company. So these are the questions I wish we should be asking, so that it has to be a two-way street. Just because the company is giving me money, it doesn't mean that I should just take it. I should also be making sure that I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be a good fit at this place. Am I going to be working in a team which is going to help me get forward? Or am I going to be working in a team which is going to stagnate my skills or whatever? So cultural fit, I would say, is extremely important. And you cannot assess cultural fit right away. What helps is asking questions like these. So research the company, ask as many questions as you can. Not just about the job or the money, it is also about the people you work with. Truth be told, you will be spending a lot of time with these people daily basis. And these better be people who make you happy and who make you wish that you come to work and have a good time. That is how I would answer this question.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this amazing podcast. I think probably anybody who's going to see this podcast is going to change his mind, saying that just leave all the CTC, everything. I just want to build myself as a professional. I think this is going to help them for sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you, saying these things. It's very humbling. When you put it this way, it feels like that I have come quite a way, but it didn't feel like that.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.